But when a woman meets a man who radiates danger, dominance, or darkness, the id takes over. There is a paradox buried deep within the feminine psyche, one that Freud spent his life unearthing. It is not the safety of the gentle man that ignites her passion, but the danger of the one who could destroy her. Not the comfort of the familiar, but the terror of the unknown. And yet, it is within this strange contradiction that female desire flourishes. For decades, modern culture has fed us a sanitized lie, that women simply want affection, security, and emotional closeness. But Freud, ever the provocateur of the soul, knew better. He whispered what many men refused to hear, that love and destruction are often not enemies, but twins, and that for many women, eroticism is not born in the light, but in the shadow. The man who could destroy her isn't the villain in her mind, he is the fantasy, and her desire to submit to him is not weakness. It is something far more disturbing, trust in annihilation. Freud believed the mind is not governed by reason, but by the unconscious, a hidden realm of taboo desires, primal fears, and unresolved childhood wounds. What a woman claims to want on the surface often stands in direct opposition to the hidden narratives within her psyche. The conscious mind says, "I want stability," but the unconscious, silent, ancient, and unrelenting, whispers, "I want chaos." And it is within this space of inner contradiction that the dangerous man lives. He does not beg for her love. He does not cater to her whims. He is still, self-possessed, almost indifferent. And it is precisely this emotional sovereignty that arouses her deepest urges. Because he does not need her, he becomes the one she cannot forget. He becomes the canvas onto which her unconscious projects its darkest longing. To be conquered, to be undone, to be seen without mercy. Freud's model of the mind, composed of the id, ego, and superego, offers a framework to understand this seduction. The id seeks immediate pleasure and primal release. The superego enforces society's rules, shame, and moral ideals. The ego mediates between the two. But when a woman meets a man who radiates danger, dominance, or darkness, the id takes over. He triggers something ancient, an animal hunger unpoliced by social niceties. In his presence, she is not a mother, a wife, or a respectable woman. She becomes flesh, nerves, instinct, and though the superego screams against it, "He's not good for you, he'll hurt you, he won't stay," she is drawn in. Why? Because the truth of her desire lives in the id, and the id doesn't care about consequence. It cares only about intensity. And intensity is the one thing the dangerous man always brings. But this craving for submission has roots deeper than biology. Freud posited the existence of what he called the father complex, a psychic pattern in which the woman is forever seeking resolution with the first authority figure she ever encountered, her father. If her father was cold, absent, or emotionally distant, she may spend her adult years chasing the ghost of that power, not consciously, but through repetition. She finds men who cannot love her and then begs them to stay. She finds men who withhold and then offers more. She is not irrational. She is wounded. And in her mind, if she can get this new dangerous man to choose her, perhaps she can rewrite history. Perhaps she can finally feel like she was good enough for the father who never saw her. The dangerous man, then, is not merely a person. He is a vessel of emotional reincarnation, and her submission is not surrender, it is strategy. It is a ritualistic reenactment of her first betrayal. Then comes the most chilling element of Freud's theory, the death drive, or Thanatos. While most people understand human beings as seeking pleasure, the pleasure principle, Freud argued that we are also drawn toward death, dissolution, and the undoing of the self. We don't just want to feel good, we want to feel obliterated. In love, this becomes eroticized. A woman may be drawn to a man who could destroy her precisely because he threatens her ego, her structure, her identity. To give herself to him is to die symbolically, to lose control, to forget who she is, to melt into something primal. And this death, it's not something she fears, it's something she fantasizes about. To be taken by force, not in a criminal sense, but in a psychological one, is to experience the thrill of losing control to something greater than herself. And that thrill is addictive. In The Alchemy of Lust, you'll be taken deep into the ancient and forgotten discipline of sexual transmutation, a principle once reserved for monks, warriors, kings, and creators. This is why so many women, in secret, devour stories of seduction and domination, books where the heroine is overpowered, not gently romanced. This is why they fantasize not about the man who makes them breakfast, but the man who doesn't call back. It is not because they lack sense. It is because their desire is not governed by logic. It is shaped by trauma, history, and the subconscious whisperings of a mind that wants both destruction and salvation in the same breath. And the dangerous man, he who does not flinch when she cries, who sees through her games, who holds the line, he becomes the only man worth bowing to. Not because he is kind, but because he is unshakable. Freud's insight was brutal. Women do not want to feel safe in love. They want to feel transformed. The dangerous man offers that transformation, not by healing her, but by burning down everything she thought she was. He doesn't chase, he doesn't explain, he simply is. And in his presence, she feels exposed, powerless, and alive. The more he refuses to fall into her emotional traps, the more she wants him. Because if he cannot be controlled, then maybe, just maybe, he's worthy of being submitted to. Her mind rebels, her pride resists, but her body obeys. And this is the erotic truth Freud understood. That true submission is not about obedience. It's about surrendering to a force that threatens to undo you. And so the safe man, for all his goodness, becomes invisible. He offers peace, but no chaos. Stability, but no danger. He gives everything she says she wants, yet nothing her unconscious actually craves. She may thank him, appreciate him, even try to love him, but he does not make her ache. That ache belongs to the man who could destroy her, the one who could vanish, the one who knows his power and wields it silently. To him, she brings her softness. She kneels not out of weakness, but out of awe. And in that kneeling, in that quiet submission, she feels something sacred, the thrill of her own annihilation. The man she submits to is not the one who showers her with compliments or promises to never hurt her. He is the one who could break her, and yet chooses restraint. That restraint to her unconscious mind is not indifference. It is erotic authority. He is dangerous not because he is violent, but because he has the capacity to ruin her emotionally and still chooses control. This controlled threat becomes intoxicating. Like a lion pacing just beyond the bars of its cage, he evokes both fear and fascination. He represents something primal, a force of nature she cannot tame. And that, Freud would argue, is precisely why she bows. Not because she is powerless, but because his power is real. To understand this dynamic, one must see eroticism not as mere physicality, but as a battlefield of the unconscious mind. Desire is never just about sex. It is about control, vulnerability, ego death, and psychological risk. And in this battlefield, the man who speaks the least often wins the most. Why? Because silence is a power play. It leaves room for projection, for mystery, for her mind to fill in the blanks with fear, hope, and fantasy. The dangerous man says little, yet his presence screams. He doesn't chase, he doesn't explain. He simply exists with gravity. She leans in to fill the silence, and in doing so, she surrenders herself. His calm becomes her chaos. His indifference becomes her obsession. This is not manipulation. It is magnetism born from inner sovereignty. He is not trying to impress her. And so, paradoxically, she becomes obsessed with impressing him. Freud knew that in the unconscious, what we desire is rarely what we should want. And many women, whether they admit it or not, seek a man who doesn't just arouse their bodies, but threatens their stability. She doesn't want to feel safe. She wants to feel alive. She wants her emotions stirred, her soul shaken. And only the man who is capable of psychological destruction can offer her that crucible. She trusts him not because he is gentle, but because his power is earned. She watches how he speaks, how he withholds, how he doesn't flinch. Every test she throws his way, he passes, not by reacting, but by refusing to bend. And so slowly, unconsciously, she kneels, not in weakness, but in recognition of something greater than herself. There is a beautiful and dangerous illusion at play here, the illusion of control. Many women in today's society claim independence, dominance, and strength. And yet, in the hidden chambers of their erotic psyche, they crave to be undone by a man more powerful than their facade. Submission, in this light, becomes freedom. By handing over control, she temporarily escapes the burden of her own identity. In the presence of a man who could destroy her, she is no longer the boss, the mother, the overachiever. She is simply a woman in the presence of power. And that experience, stripped of ego, stripped of control, is rapturous. Because in letting go, she returns to a state of pure being. He doesn't make her less, he makes her feel. Freud argued that erotic submission is deeply tied to the unconscious urge for ego death. To submit is to allow the self to vanish, just for a moment. And in that moment, a deeper, more primitive self emerges. This is why BDSM fantasies, power play, and dark romance novels dominate female imagination. These fantasies are not about abuse, they are about transcendence through surrender. In the hands of a man who has power, but who wields it with cold restraint, she finds an altar upon which to lay her complexity. He may not speak love, he may not show tenderness, but his silence, his stillness, commands something from her spirit. And that command arouses not just her body, but her devotion. The modern world, in its endless obsession with equality and balance, often ignores this hidden architecture of human desire. But it is everywhere, in the hypergamous instinct to seek men of status, in the obsession with the emotionally unavailable man, in the way she fantasizes about the one who left her, not the one who stayed. In every test, every challenge, every mind game, she is not being cruel. She is trying to measure his dominance. She wants to know, can he lead? Can he stand above me? Can he take me and still remain unshaken? Because only then will she follow. Only then will she submit, not out of weakness, but out of reverence. And so Freud's relevance today is not outdated. It is terrifyingly accurate. In a world that promotes soft masculinity, gentle vulnerability, and emotional openness, many women still ache for the very opposite. Not because they are broken, but because their desire speaks a language older than society, a language of dominance and surrender, of tension and release, of fire and ash. The man who could destroy her becomes the only man worthy of trust, because his restraint proves his power. And in her surrender to that power, she is reborn, not as a victim, but as a woman finally seen in her totality. She doesn't want the man who needs her. She wants the man who could crush her, but chooses not to. She wants to feel his edge, to lean into the blade, and know that she is safe, not because he is soft, but because he is strong enough not to strike. That, in the end, is the erotic truth Freud whispered beneath his layers of scandal and controversy. That love, real love, at least in its most raw and unconscious form, is not about safety. It is about transformation through tension. She submits not to the man who makes her feel good, but to the man who makes her feel everything. The terror, the thrill, the surrender, the death of her false self, and the rebirth of a soul that only awakens when it kneels before something greater than comfort, power. She doesn't submit because she's weak. She submits because she has finally encountered a force greater than her ego. In a world that worships equality but secretly lusts for hierarchy, Freud dared to say the unspeakable. That female desire, at its core, is not always looking for affection. It's often seeking annihilation, not in the literal sense, but in the symbolic one. She wants to be unraveled, undone, unmasked, and only the man who could destroy her, but chooses not to, is capable of delivering that transformation. In his presence, she sheds the armor society told her to wear. The armor of control, independence, superiority. And for a moment, she lets herself collapse, not out of desperation, but out of desire. She craves to be held by power, to be consumed by something unmoved by her tests. Because when she meets the man who is not seduced by her beauty, not rattled by her silence, not desperate for her validation, she finally sees someone she can trust with her full submission. Freud was not romantic. He was surgical. He cut into the soul and revealed the hidden war beneath every kiss, every stare, every longing. And in that war, the man who wins is not the one who chases. It is the one who waits, the one who watches, the one who could ruin her, but doesn't. For in that restraint lies the ultimate seduction. Thus remember, we are Indecepta. Becoming Indecepta is the code they never wanted you to learn. A psychological war map for men, forbidden teachings fused with modern strategy for influence, dominance, and self-mastery. If you want peace, prepare for war. The Indecepta archive is the complete vault. Every lesson, every revelation, every psychological blueprint I've ever recorded, handcrafted to help you break chains, build discipline, and become undefeatable in a world built to deceive men. No ads, no algorithms, no distractions.